Hi, my name is Amanda Gustin, and I'm the Public Program Manager at the Vermont Historical Society. Sometimes in our collections we have objects that look a little nondescript or a little confusing, or it's not obvious at first glance what exactly they are. And I'm holding one of those objects today that has a great story behind it. So this is actually a crucible. It's got 3 points here for pouring molten metal out of it. It's not terribly overly used, but it does have some wear markings here, possibly some scorch marks. This crucible belonged to the Rook Mining Company from Plymouth, Vermont. It came to us because the grandfather of the donor bought the land where the mining company had existed in 1914. The Rook Mining Company was founded to mine gold here in Vermont. There was actually a brief gold rush in Vermont. The story goes, now we don't know how true this is, but the story goes that a young man who had left Vermont to go to the California gold rush of famously 1849 didn't really work out for him out there. He came back to Vermont and he was fishing one day when he spotted a glint of gold in the river where he was fishing and decided that, well, the terrain here looks just like the places I was panning for gold out west, so there must be gold here as well. I don't know how geologically logical that is, but that's what he decided. There is actually gold in Vermont. So he was not wrong. He probably had seen gold that day, and it sparked off a craze for trying to make it in Vermont, trying to mine gold or pan gold in Vermont. So starting in the 1850s and for about 30 years, people were just convinced that they could successfully mine gold in Vermont. People would pan for it in streams. People would use large sluices, which is basically like a stepped up version of panning. You send it through a big long chute instead of an individual pan. And a couple of mining companies were founded. Now the two most successful were in Bridgewater and Plymouth, and a lot of the gold panning and other attempts at gold mining were in that area of Vermont. And it was the Rook Mining Company that bought and used this crucible in their mine in Plymouth. When they founded their company in the 1880s, they did so with a big splash. They put gold ingots on display at a local general store saying, "We pulled this out of the ground in Vermont. It's worth this much money. There's plenty more to be had, so invest in our company." And they did for a little while, maybe a couple of months, maybe a year, carry on an actual mining operation in this place. They produced a really big leather-bound book for their shareholders, promising of all of the gold they would pull out, and then they promptly ceased operations. It's tough to say from a modern perspective, did it just not work out for them? Was there not as much gold as they thought there was, or were they actively maybe exaggerating a little bit? They knew they were exaggerating a little bit about how much gold there was. Either way, they stopped operations about a year after they started. They were actually sued by an employee of the company for his back pay. The case went through the courts, and eventually the company was sold through the courts and actually purchased by this former employee whose name was Fox. And then for the next 30 years or so, he stayed on that property. He was kind of a recluse. We don't really know if he ever substantially got any gold out of it, but then it was purchased in 1914 by this donor's grandfather. The area is still sometimes locally called Fox's Mine. So if you're interested in mystery objects from the collections of the Vermont Historical Society, we often feature them on our social media. So make sure you're following us on all social media accounts, and check out our website at vermonthistory.org to learn more about our collections.